The ambulance doors slammed shut. That's not a metaphor. That's not a teaser. On Monday Night Raw in Indianapolis, Indiana, a 60-year-old man named Paul Heyman was loaded onto a stretcher, bleeding from his nose, and wheeled out of the arena into a waiting vehicle, and the man who put him there didn't stick around to watch. He disappeared back into the crowd, mask in hand, the roar of thousands of voices chasing him into the dark. And now the clock is ticking. Because the man Paul Heyman calls whenever something like this happens is not a manager, not a lawyer, and not a general manager. He is a 6'3", 265-pound freight train named Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar does not forgive. He retaliates. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact. I'm your host, and tonight we are diving all the way in because the road to WrestleMania 42 just got real, it just got violent, and it just got personal in ways that are going to echo all the way to Las Vegas. So buckle up. This one has layers. Let's go back to the beginning of this mess, because you cannot understand where we are right now without understanding how deep this wound actually goes. Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman have history that predates the Vision by years. When the Vision was being assembled, when Heyman was building his next great faction, his next grand project, Seth Rollins was allegedly part of that architecture. He will tell you, and he has told anyone who will listen, that he helped design the blueprint. Heyman, naturally, disputes every word of that. And therein lies the rot at the center of this entire feud. Two brilliant minds, two architects of chaos, both claiming ownership of the same idea. The difference between them? Seth Rollins shows up every week and does something about it. And boy, did he do something about it at Elimination Chamber. Picture it. Chicago, the United Center. The men's Elimination Chamber match is in full swing, and Logan Paul the Maverick, the newest toy in Heyman's collection, has just eliminated 3 competitors. He's feeling himself. He's strutting around that podline structure like he owns the city, like this is his moment, like the WrestleMania main event is a foregone conclusion with his name written on it in gold. And then something shifts. Something feels wrong. There's a masked man in that chamber who doesn't belong, and by the time anyone figures out what's happening, the mask comes off. It's Seth Rollins. Seth freaking Rollins, standing in the middle of the Elimination Chamber, grinning like a man who just won a bet he made with the universe itself. Logan Paul goes down. Cody Rhodes capitalizes. And just like that, the Maverick's dream is stomped into the mat in front of his home city. The crowd loses its mind. You want to talk about catharsis? That was catharsis. Months of mystery. Months of masked men and unanswered questions, and everyone pointing fingers and nobody having proof. And then Seth Rollins pulls the curtain back himself, not because he had to, but because he wanted everyone to see his face when he did it. That is who Seth Rollins is. He doesn't hide from the moment. He manufactures it. But here's where it gets complicated. Here's where the storytelling gets genuinely, brilliantly dangerous. The following Monday on Raw, Paul Heyman opens the show. He's flanked by Logan Paul and Austin Theory, the Vision, minus their heavy hitters, minus Braun Breaker who's been sidelined with injury, minus any real muscle. Heyman does what Heyman does. He stands at the microphone and he delivers. He calls Seth Rollins the single biggest thief in the history of professional wrestling. He says Rollins stole credit for the Shield. He says Rollins stole credit for the Vision. And now Rollins has stolen the main event of WrestleMania from Logan Paul. And the crowd? They start singing. Right in the middle of Heyman's promo, thousands of people break into the opening notes of Seth's theme, and Heyman, visibly furious, stops mid-sentence and stares out at them like a man who cannot believe he is being trolled by an entire arena. It is, genuinely, one of the funniest things that has happened on Raw in months. But Heyman collects himself, because Paul Heyman always collects himself, and he says the words that matter. The next time Seth Rollins is in a WWE ring, we are going to stomp his ass out. This is not a prediction. This is not a spoiler. This is a personal guarantee. He throws the microphone at Adam Pearce. Pearce, who has shown up with security because he knows this show is about to become a hostage situation, tells the Vision that Rollins isn't medically cleared to be there, that he cannot compete, that there will be consequences. The Vision does not care about consequences. They rarely do. And then the masks start appearing. Point 1 at the barricade. Logan Paul chases him into the crowd. Another one near Theory. Theory bolts after him like a man who has been waiting his entire career for a reason to run through the arena. A third mask. A fourth. Heyman is standing in the ring, alone now, watching his backup disappear into the chaos he helped create, and there's something almost poetic about that. Paul Heyman, the man who always has a plan, standing in the center of a ring with no one beside him, watching his scheme unravel in real time. He sees a fifth masked man on the entrance ramp. He tries to reason with him. He holds his hands up. He is doing that thing Heyman does when he's scared but won't admit it, talking fast, talking loud, talking like words can stop what's coming. They cannot stop what's coming. Because the sixth masked man is already on the apron behind him. And when that mask comes off, when Seth Rollins reveals himself, steel chair in hand, eyes locked on Paul Heyman with something that isn't anger so much as absolute, settled purpose, the arena erupts. Rollins hits Heyman across the back with that chair. Heyman crumbles. Heyman gets to his hands and knees, that old wounded animal instinct kicking in, trying to crawl, trying to survive. And Seth Rollins takes one step back, measures the distance, and delivers the stomp, his finishing move, the move that has ended careers and defined his legacy, right onto Paul Heyman. The crowd sings his theme like a hymn. Rollins raises his arms, drinks it in for exactly 1 second, and then disappears back through the crowd like a ghost. The EMTs run in. The producers run in. Heyman is bleeding from the nose, barely conscious, being helped to his feet by people whose entire job in that moment is to undo what Seth Rollins just did. And it gets better. As they're wheeling Heyman toward the ambulance backstage, this is the part that is almost too cinematic to be real. The ambulance takes off. Logan Paul, who has just sprinted back from chasing a masked man through the arena like a golden retriever who spotted a squirrel, sees the ambulance moving and jumps into the driver's seat. Austin Theory dives into the passenger seat. And then Theory immediately gets punched in the face because Jimmy Uso was already in that ambulance, waiting, because apparently on Monday Night Raw in 2026, the backstage area is a war zone and everyone has a plan and a right hook. The ambulance drives off. LA Knight, Heyman's other enemy, is rumored to have been at the wheel at some point during this absolute pandemonium. Nobody agrees on the details. Everyone agrees it was chaos. Pure, beautiful, deeply entertaining chaos. Now, here is where we have to stop laughing because the consequences of what Seth Rollins did are not going to be funny. Not even a little bit. Paul Heyman is not just a member of the Vision. Paul Heyman is the reason the Vision exists. He is the intelligence behind it, the mouthpiece, the connective tissue between Brock Lesnar, who had been working with the faction since their War Games match last November, and the faction itself. Lesnar was already back. He was already on Raw. He had already issued an open WrestleMania challenge, with Heyman standing beside him delivering lines about Lesnar being the new must-see attraction, the new streak, the new reason you set your alarm for Monday night. And now Seth Rollins has put Lesnar's advocate in a hospital. Think about what that means. Think about Brock Lesnar, wherever he is, whenever he gets the call, because he will get the call, whether it's Heyman himself asking the nurses for a phone or someone else relaying the footage, and he sees what Seth Rollins did to the one person in this world who has always been in his corner. Paul Heyman took Brock Lesnar from a college wrestling champion to a WWE champion to a UFC heavyweight champion and back to a WWE legend. That relationship is one of the most important relationships in the history of this business. It is not just professional. It is deeply, genuinely personal. Seth Rollins didn't just attack a manager. Seth Rollins attacked Brock Lesnar's family. The math here is not complicated. Brock Lesnar has an open WrestleMania challenge. Seth Rollins has just given him the most personal reason imaginable to make the challenge specific. Not to Obafemi, who stared him down at the Royal Rumble and has the size and the potential to give the Beast a fight. Not to some up-and-comer looking to make a name. To Seth Rollins, the man who built something with Paul Heyman's genius and then turned the genius into a weapon against Heyman himself. WrestleMania 35. That's the last time these two were in a singles match. April 7, 2019. MetLife Stadium. The Universal Championship on the line. Brock Lesnar, dominant and terrifying, expecting another easy championship defense. Seth Rollins, armed with nothing but a super kick, a curb stomp, and the absolute refusal to be intimidated, pins the Beast in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. One of the fastest championship victories in WrestleMania history. One of the most shocking moments this generation of fans has experienced live in that stadium. Lesnar has never quite shaken that. And now, 7 years later, as WrestleMania 42 approaches in Las Vegas, the man who humiliated him on the grandest stage has just put his most trusted confidant on a stretcher. What does Brock Lesnar do with that? He doesn't file a complaint. He doesn't call his lawyer. He doesn't stand in the ring and cut a promo about his feelings. Brock Lesnar finds Seth Rollins. And when he finds Seth Rollins, the Raw general manager and all the security in Indianapolis cannot do anything to stop what happens next. Here's what makes this feud so compelling and why it could be the sleeper hit of WrestleMania season in a year that already has CM Punk vs. Roman Reigns as its main event. Seth Rollins is the kind of performer who does not need a title to make his story matter. The visionary is at his best when the stakes are personal, when the conflict has history, when there's something more on the line than a championship. And against Brock Lesnar, everything is personal. The Stomp versus the F5. The Architect versus the Beast. The man who knows every room in the house versus the man who knocks the whole building down. Adam Pearce is going to have to make decisions. Rollins isn't medically cleared, but Rollins just showed up anyway. That invites suspension. It invites consequences from authority. It puts Rollins in the position he seems to thrive in, cornered, outnumbered, with everything stacked against him, and somehow still dangerous. The Vision wants him. Brock Lesnar is going to want him. And the only edge Seth Rollins has is the one he's always had. He is the smartest man in every room he walks into, and he plans 3 moves ahead of everyone else. But here's the question I keep coming back to. Here is the thing that keeps me watching every single Monday night without fail. What happens when Brock Lesnar arrives, and Seth Rollins doesn't have a plan? Because Brock Lesnar, at his peak, is a force that outpaces strategy. He doesn't react to psychology. He doesn't get rattled by mind games. He grabs you, lifts you over his head, and drives you through the canvas, and he smiles while he does it. The moments that defined Rollins' career have always been about speed, about wit, about ducking the inevitable and turning it into opportunity. Against Lesnar, the inevitable is a 265-pound German suplex. The WrestleMania 42 road is wide open right now. And somewhere, in a backstage area or a hospital waiting room or a private car headed to the airport, Paul Heyman is asking the nurse for his phone. And the name he's about to dial will change everything about the next 7 weeks of Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins knows this. He did this anyway. And that tells you everything you need to know about who Seth Rollins is heading into the biggest season of the wrestling calendar. He is not afraid. He is ready. The question is he right to be? That's the story. That's the match that's being written in real time on the most compelling weekly wrestling show on television. And I, for one, cannot wait to see where it goes. If you're as locked into this WrestleMania season as I am, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Do you think Seth Rollins can slay the Beast a second time? Or does Brock Lesnar come back with something that even the Visionary didn't see coming? Subscribe to Wrestling Impact so you don't miss a single breakdown between now and Las Vegas, because this road to WrestleMania 42 is just getting started, and we're riding every mile of it together. See you next time.